Hello, and welcome back, guys, to another episode of Aman's Unfiltered, where we tackle the unspoken and often uncomfortable truths. That's what we're going to be doing today because we're going to take a deep dive into the mixed or misperception surrounding the relationships between the mother in law and daughter in laws. Yes, it's about time we address this unique and complex relationship. Now, both of this relationship has been the battlefield of family tensions, cultural expectations, and unspoken rivalries. Now, is it a clash of power? A game of tug of war for the son's affection, or simply a generational disconnect fueled by tradition? Or perhaps it's a woman's worst enemy coming from within her own household. Let's face it, in many cultures, especially within the Asian community, this bond is often synonymous with conflict rather than compassion. But is the blame solely on the women? Or are societal structures and unrealistic expectations playing puppet master here? All right, I think it's time to break down the walls and dig deep into why this relationship is such a point of contention and whether we are all a little too quick to point fingers. It's really a dynamic that has been portrayed in popular culture, whispered about in hushed tones at family gatherings, and debated endlessly in social groups. Some claim it's a natural consequence of two women competing for the same man's attention, while others argue that it's a cultural construct designed to pit women against each other. But, guys, let me ask you a question. Where does the truth really lie? Is the conflict inevitable, or is it a matter of perspective, fueled by societal expectations, outdated traditions, and even personal insecurities? Now, today, we're going to unravel the complexities behind this relationship with no sugarcoating and no holding back. Okay, guys, how about this? Let's give some examples on situational examples, and I will call them Exhibit A, B, or C. So let's move on and go with Exhibit A. It's a Saturday night, husband taking newly wife out to dinner. It's supposed to be a romantic dinner. You want to call it a 2-month anniversary? Daughter in law came out with a singlet that revealed her cleavage and her right ankle tattoo showing. Mother in law came out from a shower with her hair in her towel and wearing a robe that is probably about 30 years old with 7 torn patches. You know those maxis our moms would wear back in the days at home? And whenever there was a hole in it, she would find another fabric and stitch like a square patch over it. Like, just imagine that. Anyways, so let's put it into perspective. From the daughter in law's point of view, this is my special occasion, right? Well, maybe not. It's just a Saturday night. It's still my 2nd month of marriage. I'm going out to a nice fancy restaurant where my husband booked, and he's taking me out for a good time. So I kind of want to impress him. Maybe entice him for maybe, special activity later at night. What's wrong with my outfit? Now, from the perspective of the mother in law, I came up from a family where traditions and values was so tight, so conservative, where my toes couldn't even be shown. For the last 20 years, I think I have become a bit modernized. I think I can be okay with it, but does she have to push the limit here so much? Where her cleavage is pretty much popping out of the dress, where her tattoo is splashing out to the whole world. For God's sakes, I didn't even see that tattoo when they got married. Why am I seeing it now? I didn't even know. God, I didn't even sign up for this. Now, how do we remove this animosity? How do we change the perspective? Now let's see the daughter in law's perspective. Maybe a nice coverall prior to going out might be a good idea. You're not hiding the fact that you're wearing something skimpy, but you're giving her that respect, saying, hey, I understand your family values. I will respect it under your roof and your time. When it's my time, when it's my alone time, I want to take off my jacket. That's on me, not on you. And from the mother in law's perspective, hey, this is what my son enjoys. This is what my son likes, what he prefers. It's not my taste. It might be his. So I'm not going to give the benefit to my daughter in law, but I'll give the benefit to my son for his own prerogative. However, the only thing I can do is hold my tongue, number one. Number two is what I can do to forget about it. Now, the fact that I'm holding my tongue now, I should not bring it up 5 days later or a month later. If I choose not to converse about this matter, I should not revisit it later at all. So again, guys, what are we taking away from this situation? We're taking the animosity between the two, which is the presumption that neither of them are wrong. We're taking that out of the picture. They both are entitled to their opinion. They both are entitled to the actions as long as it doesn't break the family. Or as long as it doesn't go back into the same loop again, that they're both wrong and come up with these weird scenarios in their heads. Let's move on to Exhibit B. Daughter-in-law gets married. Not even 2 days in, she decides to change the regular salt in the house to sea salt. Mother-in-law comes into the kitchen, tries to find it, and asks around where is the salt she's been using for over 40 years in this kitchen. Daughter-in-law walks in and says, I've changed the salt to sea salt as it's healthier. You switched it without asking me. This is my kitchen. I've been cooking here since you were a child. You can't just come in here and change things like you own the place, says the mother-in-law. But I'm just trying to help. We need to start eating better, and sea salt has more minerals. Why are you so upset over something so small? Goes on the daughter-in-law. Hey, it's not about the salt. It's about you not respecting the way things have been done in this house. You've been here 2 days and you're already changing everything? What's next? Are you going to tell me how to cook? Rants on the mother-in-law. I didn't know changing the salt would be considered a personal attack. It's not just the salt, it's the principle. You don't come into someone's house and start rearranging things. It's about respect. Now, guys, this is a classic example of what happens when two strong personalities collide in a shared space. The fight isn't really about the salt, is it? But about lack of communication and perceived control. Both women have a point. One feels disrespected. One feels like she's contributing to the house in her own way. So now how can we make this work? Let's flip the script here a bit. In a calmer scenario, the mother-in-law goes, I've been using regular salt for 40 years. I'm comfortable with it, and I don't like sudden changes, especially without being consulted. This is still my kitchen after all. Now, the daughter-in-law being more apologetic, I get that. I didn't mean to step on your toes, but I thought it would be good to make healthier choices for the family. You know what? Maybe I should have asked first. Mother-in-law says, I understand your intentions, but things like this, it would be better if we talk about them. We are family after all, and it's important to respect each other's way of doing things around here. The daughter-in-law then says, how about this? We can keep both kinds of salt. I can use sea salt when I cook, and you can use regular salt. That way we are both comfortable and no one feels overruled. Mother-in-law sparkles in her eyes. You know what? That's fair. We can try it that way. Maybe over time I'll get used to the sea salt too. But for now, let's make sure we talk about these changes first. Communication is key, I guess, says the daughter in law. And just like that, guys, a simple compromise makes all the difference. The relationship between the two can be challenging, but it doesn't have to be a constant power struggle. By focusing on communication, respect, and understanding, they find middle ground. In the end, it's not about who's right or wrong, it's about working together for the peace and harmony of the household. Let's go with our third exhibit. Daughter in law and mother in law and the family members are sitting together. It's a special day for the daughter in law, could be her birthday or her anniversary, or a special day like her first Diwali or her first Vaisakhi. Gift wrapping being opened, some laughter followed by awkward silence. Mother in law goes, I've been saving this for you. It's something very special. Hands over a neatly wrapped gift. I hope you like it. Surprised? It's a sari, a very old silk sari, with a bit of stain here and there. Trying to sound polite. Thank you, but I don't really wear saris. It's beautiful, but slightly stained and dot dot dot. Mother in law, sounding hurt, right away chimes in, defensive. Hey, this is a family heirloom. It's been passed down for generations. I thought you'd appreciate something meaningful, not just some store bought item. Daughter in law being frustrated. I get that it's meaningful, but you know I don't wear traditional saris. And also, I wouldn't know how to get the stains out. I was really hoping for something a bit more, I don't know, personal, something that reflects my style, maybe something new. Offended, raising her voice, mother in law. What could be more personal than something that has been in this family for decades? I thought you'd want to honor the traditions of this household, but it seems like nothing from this family is ever good enough for you. Daughter in law now starts to get angry. Hey, that's not fair. It's not about not liking the family or the tradition. It's just that this is my special day, and maybe you'd consider what I actually like for once instead of just what you think is best. Oh, I see. So now I'm supposed to ignore our family traditions and focus on your modern taste? It's always about you, isn't it? Now, here, daughter in law snaps. I'm not asking you to ignore anything, but how hard is it to ask me what I might actually want? And being a new daughter in law in this house, this is my special occasion. Rather than giving me something used, I thought you could give me something new. Now, gifts can often be a source of tension when there are different expectations. For the mother in law, this gift represents tradition, heritage, and a way of welcoming her daughter in law into the family. In her own way, it might not be right, but it's her way. But for the daughter in law, it feels disconnected from her personal taste and lifestyle and not feeling valued by being given something passed down that she can never use. So, how can they navigate this situation and come to a mutual understanding? Let's look at it at another perspective. What if the mother in law says, I didn't mean to upset you? This sari has a lot of sentimental value, and I wanted to give it to you something meaningful, something that ties you to the family history. And I understand that there might be stains here and there, but given the technology today with the dry cleaners, I thought that might be a way of removing these stains. But you know what? I didn't think about whether it's something you'd actually wear or enjoy. On a softer tone, the daughter in law says, I really appreciate the thought behind it. I really do. It's just that I rarely wear traditional clothes, and I was hoping for something that fits more to my lifestyle. But I didn't mean to come off as ungrateful. I understand. I guess I got caught up in wanting to share something from the family. Maybe I should have asked what you wanted instead of assuming, says the mother in law. How about this? You can keep the sari as a memory, and for your birthday, or the next special occasion, we'll go shopping together so you can pick out something you really love. Now, daughter in law is in a great mood. That sounds perfect. I'd love to go shopping with you. And I'll cherish this sari for its meaning, even if I don't wear it often. But maybe I'll save it for special occasions. Of course, once I can get the stains removed. Now, mother in law being a bit more relieved, that makes me happy. I think we can find a balance between keeping our traditions alive and respecting your taste too. And there you have it, guys. A situation that could have easily spiraled into bitterness and resentment, but was resolved through open communication and a willingness to understand one another. When it comes to gifts, it's not just about what's given, but the thought and the context behind it. And sometimes it's about finding a way to merge tradition with modern values. At the end of the day, it's not about the gift itself, guys, but the relationship we build and nurture in the process. Now, I want to move on to the last exhibit because I think this is a very big issue in a lot of families. It's about fighting for time of her son and the husband. So, Exhibit D, mother in law calling out, Beta, why don't you sit with me for a while? We hardly get time to talk anymore. From the other room, the daughter in law goes, Honey, we were supposed to go out for dinner tonight, remember? You promised. Now the son, who's torn, trying to appease to both, yeah, I remember. Maybe we both can go in a bit after I spend some time with mom. Interrupting, why not skip dinner out? You can spend time with me at home. It's not every day I get to have my son all to myself. You're always off doing something with her, says the mother in law. Now, at this point, the daughter in law is super frustrated, storms into the room, and says, We've had these dinner plans for weeks. You can't keep canceling on me at the last minute because your mom wants to chat. Now, snapping and defensive, mom in law, Excuse me, I'm his mother. I've known him for his entire life. I've sacrificed everything for him, and now he's married. I have to beg for his attention. At this point, the daughter in law is now angry. And she starts saying, I'm not saying you shouldn't spend time together, but you have all day. I barely get to spend time with him, and we finally make plans. You guilt him into staying home. Now, the son feeling trapped. Awkwardly, can we all just calm down for a second? Angrily, the mother in law, calm down. Every time I try to talk to my son, you act like I'm trying to take him away from you. At this point, the daughter in law is already hurt. And she's like, maybe because that's exactly how it feels. You want him all to yourself at the time. And I'm tired of being the second priority in my own marriage. Now, guys, you saw what happened there? What if I switch the narrative around? As this is a classic case of competition for the son's attention, one that many households sees. The mother in law feels neglected as her son shifts focus to his wife, which is very natural. And while the daughter in law feels sidelined when she can't get quality time with her husband. Both women are driven by love, but they feel like they're losing a part of him to the other. So, how can they find a middle ground where neither one feels left out? Now, let's look at the situation calmer. Mother in law says, I don't mean to make you feel like you're competing with me for his time. It's just that he's been my world for so long. I don't know how to adjust not seeing him as much as I used to. In a softer tone, daughter in law goes, I understand that. It must be hard to see him so much less now that we're married. But it's hard for me too. He's my husband, and I want to have some time for just us. We're trying to build our own life together, and it feels like I'm always having to fight for that space. Mother in law sighs, I guess I didn't think about it from your perspective. I'm used to having him around. I don't realize how much you need that time as well. Nodding, the daughter in law goes, how about we set some boundaries? Maybe certain days can be family time where we all spend time together, and other times can be just me and him. That way, no one feels neglected. But mother in law is reluctant, but she's understanding. I think that could work, she says. I just need to know that I'm still important to him. It's hard watching your son grow up and move on, but I don't want to cause problems between the two of you either. Smiling, you'll always be important to him and to me too. We are a family now. But I think if we all communicate better, it won't feel like we're constantly fighting for his attention, says the daughter in law. Softly, the mother in law goes, all right, we will try it your way. I'll let you two go out for dinner. Maybe tomorrow we can all have a nice meal together. See, guys, that sounded perfect. And there was understanding in that. So, just like that, another potential conflict turns into an opportunity for growth and understanding. When it comes to relationships, especially within families, it's important to remember that everyone needs attention and reassurance. The relationship between the two may feel like they're fighting for the same person's time and affection, but with open communication and a willingness to compromise, both relationships can actually thrive. They can actually be allies, be friends. So, as we've explored today, the relationship between the two can be full of emotional challenges, often driven by love, loyalty, and sometimes fear of losing connection. But at the heart of it all, both women want the same thing: to feel valued and respected. When they can put themselves in each other's shoes, communicate openly, and work towards compromise, the tension kind of fades away and honestly, the real understanding emerges. It's not about competing for the son's attention or the salt type you use or the type of gifts being given. It's about building a family dynamic where everyone feels included with patience, empathy, understanding, and I think the most important of all is dialogue. I think any family can navigate these tricky waters if you do all the above. Now, on a personal note, to all those mother in laws out there, please remember you too were once daughter in laws and had the same challenges your daughter in law is facing today. It is very important that we try to break the cycle. I understand you guys might have gone through a tough patch with your own in laws back in your generation. This is the type of message I'm trying to send out, that the loop needs to end. Because you went through what you did, my daughter in law needs to adore the same. No, my dear mother in laws, it's actually the opposite. Because you faced what you did, and because you saw your family suffer, you shouldn't want that upon your own family. And remember, there is always a huge generational gap in how things are done then and now. So please sit back and sip on your cha and take a chill pill. And to all the daughter in laws out there, also sit back and relax on those spiraling hormones of yours and stop the whole I'm an independent woman righteousness persona. I get it. We're all independent. But our generation, we're not far behind from our parents' values and teachings and thoughts. Yes, we want to emerge out of the loop of being not modern enough. We are much more exposed to the modernized world. I get it. But you are entering somebody else's turf. You are entering somebody else's house. Someone who's built that house for years. You know, a little bit of respect is all they want. Like I said, your mom in laws too are trying and struggling to understand the sudden change in how things are being done now and how to communicate in today's day and age. So cut them some slack. Thanks for tuning in to Aman's Unfiltered. If you have ever faced a similar struggle for attention in your household, whether you're a mom-in-law or you're a daughter-in-law, let us know your thoughts and experiences. Anyone who wants to shed some light on the topic above? Or should I say, dare to share some experience? Let me know. I'm always looking for someone to help us shed some light. Keeping you anonymous is also an option, so just contact me or not, let me know. Remember, a little understanding goes a long, long way. Until next time, keep those conversations going. I'm your host, Aman.